Hello everyone, I am Professor Salve from the Department of Botany, Pratap College, Amarner Autonomous. Today we will understand the topic stomata with respect to the definition and its types. So what is stomata or what are the stomata? Actually stomata and stoma are the same thing. The stoma means the Greek word comes from the mouth, yeah, and mouth-like structure that is known as a stoma. So the stomata open and close and regulate what passes in and out. Okay, so these microscopic pores are primarily found on the epidermis, outer skin of the leaf, as well as also present on a young stem in a smaller number. They are one of the most intelligent engineering solution in the natural world, allowing plant to breathe, grow, survive across an extraordinary range of environment. Actually, the stomata is known as a doer keeper or a guard keeper. Okay, the stomata decide which should be enter and which should be exit from that particular door. Okay, the stomata which is located in a abaxial surface of the leaf and most of the terrestrial plants minimizing a direct exposure to the sunlight, reducing water evaporation. In some plants, they occur on the both surfaces. In a floating aquatic plant, they appear only on the upper surfaces. Young green stems may also bear a functional number of stomata. There are some exceptions are there. Guard cells. Uh, each stomata is covered by a pair of highly specialized particular cells that is known as a guard cells. The function of the stomata is mainly the gas exchange, which regulate the gases exchange, like a carbon dioxide. The raw material for the photosynthesis enter through the stomata. So the stomata are minute pores which occur in the epidermis of the leaf. Each stoma remains surrounded by the two kidney or bean-shaped epidermal cells at the as the guard cells. The stomata may occur on any parts of the plant except the root. Maybe exceptions are there. The epidermal cells bordering the guard cells are called as accessory cells or subsidiary cells. Generally, the term stoma is applied to the stomatal opening and the guard cells. The guard cells are living and contain a chloroplast in them. They also contain a larger proportion of protoplasm than other epidermal cells. Usually in the leaves of dicotyledon, stomata are remain scattered, whereas in the leaves of monocotyledon, they are arranged in a parallel rows. The number of stomata may also range on the surface of the single leaf from the few thousand to the hundred thousands per square centimeter. Stomata occur on the both upper as well as lower surface of the leaf, but especially they are confined to the lower surface in a floating leaves. Stomata confined only on the upper surface of the leaves. Okay, so this is a diagram or a figure of the stomata. The pair transparent structure is known as a subsidiary cells, and kidney shaped structure is known as a guard cells, and the opening is present that is known as a stoma. The structure of the stomata. A single stomatal complex is a masterpiece of a biological engineering. It is composed of several distinct cell types, each playing a critical and coordinated role in regulating a pore functions. Understanding the anatomy of the stomata helps to reveal why this structure are so effective at balancing a competing a demand of gas exchange and water conservation. The guard cells, kidney shaped or dumbbell shaped cells that flank the pore on the both sides. They are only epidermal cells containing a chloroplast which allow them to produce ATP and drive ion transport mechanism that control turgor pressure. When guard cell accumulate potassium ions and water, they swell and bow apart, opening the pores. And when they lose iron and water, they collapse inwards and sealing the stomata or closing the stomata. So these are the function and structure of the guard cell. Then the stomata, the stoma pore, the actual aperture or opening. The stoma itself is a gap formed between the two guard cell. It is width varies from 0 micrometer to the fully open 20 micrometer, allowing fine turn regulation of the gas diffusion. The size of the aperture directly determines the rate of carbon dioxide enter and water vapor exit. Okay, so like a transpiration. Okay, making them a central variable in a plant photosynthesis and transpiration compromises. Okay, then subsidiary cells. Subsidiary cells also known as accessory cells. Subsidiary cells are epidermal cells immediately surrounding the guard cell. They are morphologically distinct from the rest of the epidermal cells and serve as a reservoir for ions and waters. When the guard cell needs to open quickly, they draw water from subsidiary cells, and this intimate relationship between subsidiary cells and guard cell ensured rapid efficient stomatal movement, that is closing and opening of the stomata with respect to the in response to the environmental cues or conditions. And epidermal cells, these are the general epidermal cells surrounding the stomatal complex, provide structural and mechanical support. Okay, they maintain a turgor pressure in a lip epidermis, create the physical framework within the which guard cells operate. Their thick outer walls vascuticle help lip to resist water loss through the non-stomatal surface, ensuring that the most of the water vapor exit exclusively through a stomata where it can be regulated. So study of the classification of the stomata. We can study the stomata or we can classify the stomata in two ways, based on mature structure and based on the ontogeny. Okay, so let's discuss. Based on mature structure, there are basically four types. Classification given by the Vescu, classification given by the Metcalfe and Chalk, classification given by the Stace, and classification given by the Stebbins and Kush. Okay, classification based on the ontogeny, classification given by the Pant, and classification given by the Van Quatem. Classification of the stomata based on the mature structure. This classification is given by the Vescu. The dicotyledonous stomata were firstly classified into four types by the Vescu in a year 1889. The types were given by the family name in which these types were first studied. The four types defined by the Vescu as follows: Ranunculus stomata. This stomata mostly present in a Ranunculus family. That's why this stomata named as a Ranunculus stomata. Mature stomata are surrounded by the several irregular disposed epidermal cells. Means we cannot differentiate it between the guard cell, subsidiary cells and epidermal cell. That's why it is known as a ranunculus stomata. Then cruciferous, a type of stomata which is present in the crucifery family. Okay, the mature stomata are surrounded by the three subsidiary cells. Out of that, one is smaller than the other two. Such a type of stomata is known as a cruciferous type of stomata. Then Caryophyllaceous stomata or Labiateous stomata. This stomata present in the family Caryophyllaceae or Labiatae. Okay, the mature stoma is enclosed by the pair of subsidiary cells, uh, whose common wall is at right angle to each of the guard cells. Okay. Then fourth one, that is a rubiaceous type of stomata. This stomata mainly present in the family Rubiaceae, and mature stomata are accompanied by the two subsidiary cells parallel to the long axis of the pore. The difference between Caryophyllus and Rubiaceous stomata is that uh, subsidiary cells are arranged at the right angle to the guard cells, and in a Rubiaceous stomata, subsidiary cells are parallel to the long axis of the pores. That means they are arranged vertically along with the guard cells in a rubiaceous stomata, but in a caryophyllaceous stomata, the subsidiary cells not run parallel to the guard cell. Then classification given by the Metcalfe and Chalk in a 1950. Morphologically, there are four main type of stomata have been distributed in a dicotyledons on the basis of arrangement of the epidermal cells neighboring the guard cells, Metcalfe and Chalk. Okay. So the anomocytic stomata, it also known as irregular type of stomata, when the stoma is surrounded by the definite number of cells that are not differentiate from the remainder of the epidermis. That means we cannot differentiate these are the guard cell, these are the subsidiary cells, or these are the epidermal cells. That's why it is known as a irregular type of stomata or anomocytic stomata or a irregular celled stomata. Okay. Then anisocytic unequal celled type of stomata. This stomata is surrounded by the three cells of which one is distinctly smaller than the other two. That means stoma is surrounded by the different type of cells, three cells mainly, from which one is distinctly smaller and other two are larger than this one. Okay. Then third one is a dicytic cross-celled type of stomata. The stoma is enclosed by the pair of subsidiary cells whose common wall is at right angle to the guard cell. That means uh, two type of subsidiary cells are there. That's why it is known as a dicytic cross-celled type of stomata. We can see in a figure C. Then fourth, parasitic stomata or parallel cell type of stomata. The stoma is accompanied by the either one side or more subsidiary cells are parallel to the long axis of the pore and guard cell. Such a type of stomata is known as a parasitic stomata or parallel cell stomata. We can see here the so many uh, subsidiary cells are parallel to the axis of the pore as well as guard cell. Okay. Then fifth one, a stomata described by the Metcalfe and Chalk, actinocytic type of stomata. The stoma is surrounded by the a circle of radiating cells. That means guard cell or stoma is surrounded by the circle of the subsidiary cells. This type of stomata is known as a actinocytic stomata, and this is a very uncommon type of stomata. Then sixth type of stomata explained by the Metcalfe and Chalk, tetracyclic type of stomata. The stoma is surrounded by the four subsidiary cells, two lateral, two polar, and the polar sometimes smaller and roundish. We can explain. We can discuss it in a figure. Yep, we can see here that the lateral subsidiary cells and polar subsidiary cells are sometimes smaller as compared to the remaining epidermal cells. Okay. Then seven type of stomata, which is very important type of stomata, that is gramineous or a gramineous stomata present in the family Graminaceae, which is belong to the group or a class Monocotyledon. Gramineous stoma possess a two guard cell that are shaped like a dumbbells, like a dumbbell shaped structure is there. Each guard cell has a narrow middle portion and two bulbous in. That's why it look like a dumbbell. So dumbbell shaped stomata is present in the Gramineae or Poaceae family. The narrow middle portion is strongly thickened. The subsidiary cells are parallel to the long axis of the pore. For example, Gramineae or Cyperaceae family. We can also see in a figure. Subsidiary cells are dumbbell shaped. No, sorry. Subsidiary cells are arranged parallelly, and guard cells look like a dumbbell. Okay. Then, in addition to the classes explained by the Metcalfe and Chalk, certain additional classification given by the Stess, that is uh, other than anomocytic, anisocytic, parasitic, diacytic, actinocytic, and one other also recognized by the Stess in 1965, that is cyclocytic type of stomata. The stoma is surrounded by the four or more cell forming a narrow ring around the guard cells. It look like something actinocytic type of a stomata, but slightly differ in a way that the stoma is surrounded by the four or more type of cell forming a narrow ring around the guard cells. That's why it is known as a cyclocytic type of stomata, which is given by the stage during the 1965. Then Stebbins and Kush also described the type of stomata in 1961. He recognized the four categories of the stomatal complexes in a monocotyledons on the basis of classification is the presence or absence of the subsidiary cells. When the present, the number, shape, arrangement in relation to the guard cell form the basis of their classification. Stebbins and Kush did not propose any terminology to aid their concept and distinguish them as a first type, second type, third type, fourth type, which are as follows: four type of stoma in monocotyledon according to the stamens and kush. So they only focus on the monocotyledon rather than the dicotyledons. There are four different types of the stomata. First type actually the by default name is a first type. Okay, first type stomata. The guard cells are surrounded by the 4 to 6 subsidiary cell. This type is more common in many species of the Araceae family, Commelinaceae family, Musaceae family, and Cannaceae family, and Gingiveraceae family. So first type stoma present in the uh, Musa paradisica, Commelina, okay, Canna, Gigimbra officinale, or some member of Araceae. Okay, we can see here in a diagram the subsidiary cells are in a four number which are surround the guard cells. First type with six subsidiary cells common in a communis. Then second type, the guard cells are surrounded by the 4 to 6 subsidiary cells, of which two are roundish, smaller than the rest, and are situated at the end of the guard cells. This type is found in the many species of the palmy and Pandanaceae and uh, Cyclanthaceae. Okay, so you can see here the second type of stomata with four subsidiary cells in a Pandanus species, and the second type of stomata with six subsidiary cells in a uh, Phytalephans microcarpus species. Okay, so you can see that the terminal two subsidiaries are having a rounded shape, and remaining are the situated at the end of the cells. Okay, then third type, the guard cells are accompanied laterally by the two subsidiary cells, one on each side. This type is mainly found in the species of the Pontederiaceae, order Alizmetals, order Cyperals, order Gramials, and other some monocotyledonous orders like Cyprus alternivorous, Pontederia, Alizmeta, some of the few members of the third type of Stomata. Fourth type, the guard cells are not associated with any subsidiary cells. This can be seen in many species of the lilials, dioscorals, orchidals, iridals, and amoridals. Okay, so the some of the members of the Dioscorea bulbifera, some members of the Orchidaceae family, some members of the Ericaceae family, and some members of the Amaryllidaceae family, which having a monocots, but there is a no dumbbell shaped stomata. Irrespective that there is a fourth type of stomata as explained by the Stebbins and Kush. Okay. Then third type of stomata, the guard cells are accompanying lateral to the subsidiary cells, one on the east side, and this is the found in the many species of the Pontedinaceae as we discussed already in a previous slide. Just diagram is given here. Fourth type is very interesting. Anatomically, it look like a dicot, but all these are the orders of the monocotyledons like lilials, dioscurials, orchidals, iridals, and amaryllids. Then classification of the stomata based on the ontogeny. The stoma mother cells or stomatal initial cells called as a meristemoids is cut off from the cells of the protoderm. As we discussed in the type of meristem, protoderm is concept already revise. Okay, the stomatal initial undergoes the one or more division to give rise a stoma or stomatal meristemoids which divide to form a two equal guard cell is called as a guard mother cells. Classification, such a classification is given by the Pant during a 1965. Pant proposed a classification of the stomata based on the ontogeny. He divided the stomata in following three types. Okay, first one is a mesogynous stomata, second one is a perigynous stomata, and third one is a perimesogynous stomata, which is a composition of the mesogynous as well as perigynous stomata. Let's discuss first one. In mesogynous stomata, in this type, guard cells and subsidiary cells are derived by the continuous division of the same meristemoid. This type of stomatal development is found in the member of Cruciferi solanaceae, okay, like a tobacco family, Brassicaceae family, okay. Cruciferi, that means Brassicaceae. Second one, perigenous stomata. In this type of stomata, there is an independent origin of the guard cell and subsidiary cell. That means the meristemoid directly function as a guard cell mother cell, which divide once by straight wall to form a pair of guard cell, and the subsidiary cells are derived by the oblique division in the epidermal cells neighboring the guard cells. This type of development may acquire anomocytic stomata or a tetracytic stomatal condition. Anomocytic stomatic condition uh, in a perigenous way of development found in a Nymphaceae family and Cucurbitaceae family, and tetracytic condition noted in a Poaceae family, Cyperaceae family, or maybe some other examples are there. Third type is a perimesogenous type of stomata. In this type, the subsidiary cells have a dual origin. At least one of the subsidiary cells has a more common origin with the guard cell, whereas the other differentiate in a neighboring cells on the other side and of the meristemoid. And this type of development is found in the member of the Ranunculaceae, Caryophyllaceae, etc. So the importance of the stomata in a plant. This is the main parts of the stomata, importance or the function of the stomata. The stomata is not merely passive holes in the lip. They are active, intelligent regulatory wall that underpin the virtually every major physiological process in a plant life. Their importance spans from the cellular level, where they enable photosynthesis, respiration, to the organism level, and where they govern growth and stress survival. Without a functional stomata, no vascular plant could survive on the land. Okay, so that's why stomata, that is minute pores or opening present on the plant surface, very important. Uh, the function of or importance of the stomata. First one is a enabling a photosynthesis. We all know that the main function of the stomata is a transpiration and gaseous exchange. The first one is a gaseous exchange, enabling a photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is an essential raw material for the photosynthesis, the process by which plant convert light and energy into a chemical energy stored as a glucose. Since carbon dioxide cannot pass through the waxy cuticle covering the leaf surface, stomata are the primary opening or primary door or primary entrance point, and in a most plants and the only point of the entry where stomata open in response to the light. Carbon dioxide enter into a leaf and rapidly fix the enzymes in a enzyme rubisco in the mesophil cells to perform the carbon fixation process or dark reaction, we can say that. The rate of photosynthesis therefore directly limited by the stomatal conductance. That means maximum carbon dioxide intake, maximum photosynthesis or optimum photosynthesis. Okay, when stomata opens wider, more CO2 enter, more sugar produced. In a C3 plant, stomata typically open during a day, but in a camp plants like a cacti or some camp plants are there, they only open at the night to conserve the water or to avoid the transpiration, because they survive in a xerophytic condition or a dry condition. That's why they avoid the opening of the stomata during the daytime to avoid the loss of extra water. Okay, when they open at the night time, they conserve water and still gathering the carbon dioxide for the daytime photosynthesis. That means they intake the carbon during night time and use this carbon dioxide for the purpose of the photosynthesis to fix the carbon during the daytime. Then controlling the transpiration. Transpiration means loss of water in a vapor form to the aerial parts of the plants. Transpiration done through the epidermis, transpiration done to the stomata, transpiration done to the cuticles. Okay, but most of the transpiration done through the stomata. So the transpiration, the evaporation of water from the leaf surface occur predominantly through the open stomata. While this water loss might seem wasteful, it serves as a critical function. It drives the transpiration stream that pulls water and dissolved minerals upward from the root through the xylem. It cools the rib surface, evaporating, cooling, and maintain the turgor pressure necessary for the cell function and growth. So Because of the transpiration, water conduction takes place. Okay, the stomata regulate this loss carefully. On a hot, dry day, they close partially or fully to prevent the lethal desiccation. And in a single day, the large tree may transpire hundred of liter water, all regulated by the stomata. Third one, facilitating a gas exchange. Beyond the photosynthesis, stomata are essential for cellular respiration in a plant cells. O2 produced during the photosynthesis exit via stomata, and CO2 from the mitochondrial respiration also exit through that. At the night when the photosynthesis stopped, stomata may partially opens and allow O2 in and CO2 out during the respiration. Okay, this bidirectional gas traffic makes stomata or lungs of the plants, doorkeeper of the plants. Without stomata, land plants obviously cannot survive. A continuous interference between the plant's internal chemistry and the external atmosphere, which are actually done by the stomata, which is nothing but a mediator between internal environment and external environment. Last one, importance of the stomata is adapting to the environmental stress. The plant faced constantly changing and often hostile environment, drought, heat, salinity, pathogen attack, and flooding. The stomata are the central to the plant's stress response toolkit. Under water stress, ABS signals stomata closure within the minutes, dramatically reducing water loss under high CO2 condition, which close partially and reducing a transpiration but also limiting the photosynthesis. Stomata density itself can change over the generation to the evolution. To adapt the dot, typically have a fewer, smaller stomata, presenting a long-term adaptive strategy. So the overall conclusion from the stomata of this session, stomata is a small pores or opening present on the plant surfaces like a leaf or a young stem. Stomata stands as one of the nature most cons- uh, consequential innovation, spanning just a few micrometer in a width. This microscopic portals, also known as a breathing array of physiological and ecological process, from the sugar production powering a single leaf cell to the water cycle that sustain the entire continent and the carbon fluxes that shape the earth climate over a geological time scale. Okay, so stomata are also help in understanding the plant physiology. Stomata are the at the heart of the plant biology, the major process that photosynthesis, transpiration, respiration, nutrient uptake, and trace response passes through the stomatal gateway. And a deep understanding of the stomatal biology is a fundamental to all the plant science, ecology, and environmental biology. Improving agriculture. As the global food demand rises, the fresh water becomes scarce. Okay, so engineering crops, optimizing stomata is a critical priority. Plant with more responsive stomata can maintain photosynthesis under high drought while using water more efficiently, and combining that could be transform crop yield in a warming world. Okay, so the addressing a climate change, stomata are the earth biological regulator of atmospheric carbon dioxide. Okay, continental water cycle. Understand how they respond to rising carbon dioxide, temperature, drought in essential, predicting a future vegetation feedbacks in the climate models, and developing a natural based solution to a climate crisis. So the every time you look at the lip, you are looking at the millions of tiny mouths opening, and each one is breathing, drinking, deciding, and moment by moment how to sustain a life on a warming planets. Okay, so the from the ancient silurian swamps where the first land plants spread their leaves to the precision engineering crop fields of the 20th century, stomata have been will continue to be among the most powerful, indispensable structure in a living world. Next time you hold a leap up to the light, remember those tiny invisible openings are quickly sustaining all life we as we know.